We are sitting here with Richard Owens. He is a grad student in where?
The Kimbrough School of Music here at WSU.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I have the pleasure here to actually have this interview with Richard. And one of the first questions I really want to ask is just tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you?
Okay. Well, I'm Richard Owens. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, on the South Side. I'm 33 years old. I've been playing trombone the majority of my life. It's taken me halfway around the world, 3 times here, and I've been able to make a pretty decent living. Early on in my youth, I've been very fortunate and lucky enough to perform with a lot of high-profile musicians as well. So,
some of those musicians would include.
First and foremost, one of my greatest and up-close inspirations was the late Dr. Joe Sample of the original jazz Crusaders. I learned so much from him that you cannot find in any book on how to be very artistic in the field of music, as well as recording, engineering factors, producing great quality music, and just overall being passionate and a good human being as well.
It's pretty cool. So, Richard, what is exactly your research project?
Okay, well, my 702 project is 3 compositions that integrates West African, Afrobeat, and high life music with American Western jazz. So that's what my project is.
Can you go further into it?
Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing is it's like a hybrid form of jazz that I'm creating. Instead of doing an actual arrangement of someone else's music, it's original. It's all original. And with that integration in these three pieces that I'm composing, 2 of them are for an American big band situation like we have here with the WSU Jazz Band, and one of them will be written for a small group with a lot of percussion, exotic percussion, and ethno instruments that are not native to the U.S. So, yes.
Is there a lot of improv in the project?
Oh yes, very much so. Tons of that. But that will be written into the piece, and we'll go from there. A lot of percussion and percussion stuff.
So as you a composer?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you strike the balance between improv and structured sounds of music within a score or a piece?
Well, basically, it's written in, and naturally in certain parts of the world, it's not written in. I mean, it's just a natural thing to do any form of improvisation. Especially in West Africa. I mean, you have so many great musicians there. A lot of them, either they can or they can't read music. They use a different kind of tuning system. But overall, the organization of the software that I'm using allows me to implant that in my music. So, say for instance, if I'm here at WSU and I'm working with the Conrad Johnson Orchestra in Houston, which I'm a lifetime member with those guys. I love those guys. But anyway, and I take this music and I mail it to them, and they can just take it and they'll be able to read it without me even being in the room with them. So, yes.
Where did your passion for music come from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. My passion for music came from just relentless nights of my grandfather. He was a Korean War veteran. He used to play piano during the Korean War, and he was an Army veteran. And so during the summer, I would spend a lot of time with him. He was a mechanic, as in my childhood. And every time we'd leave his shop, we'd go home, and on the way home, he'd stop at White Castles in Chicago and get everybody burgers, all his grandkids. Or if it just wasn't that, if he didn't even have the change for that, it was peanut butter and crackers or a sandwich of some sort. And, that's to keep the kids entertained. And he would pull his keyboard out and he would play. And one of his favorite songs was either Misty or, Heart and Soul. So, and ever since then, I was just hooked, and I was like, man, this is pretty fun. This is, So early on, I kind of knew that music was a part of me. It wasn't literally until about maybe 8th grade I had already been playing trombone and tuba constantly. Actually, by 8th grade, I had already been gigging professionally on trombone here, and as well as bass guitar. And it was one day we had a guest artist come in, and it was actually a career day. And he came in, and he was just playing so gracefully, and he didn't have sheet music in front of him, and he really seemed to be passionate and in love with what he was doing. And he made it very noted that he makes a living by playing this saxophone. This is how he eats, this is how he pays his bills, and this is how he takes care of his family. And it was the most, spiritual and educational thing I've seen at that point, And that day, I made a decision. This is what I wanted. I figured, okay, I can play basketball. I can play baseball really well too. I like soccer. I like sports. I like all of that, but that's not for everybody. And I felt that a lot of those entities were political even then. So I said, well, you know what? Not knowing that the field of music is political as well. In any, career that you're going into, it's something political about it and some formality. So I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to play this trombone. It's been putting change in my pocket while all my other friends have to go cut grass and cut bushes during the summer, things like that. I didn't have to do that. I was in the music. At this point, I was able to read music and play by ear as well.
Right. So you play jazz. I don't label you as a jazz musician. You just play music. But where does some of your music derive from? And who your great influences?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, around the same time where in 8th grade when I decided that I wanted to be a professional musician one day, was my band director who got me started in 4th grade through 8th grade in this period. And his name was John P. Weber. He's a tuba player, actually, but probably one of the best music educators in the Chicago area. Not only did he teach us, he pertained to even perform with us and certain, or give us other entities and avenues to go perform and be performers, which was great. Even all the way until, I went off to community college for the first 2 years, and he was still participating in local community bands, even the community college, symphony band, and the jazz group would come in and sit in and participate, and it was just amazing. And then at that point, I was an adult, so I was able to go out and find my own gigs and play professionally. And a lot of times, I would run into him, and to that point, I could still ask him questions as his student. It was great. And those were some of the heavy roots of what has this engine flowing inside of me.
So, what made you decide to go to WSU?
Well, for one, when I first arrived here, and the R.A.D.S program, which is amazing, they arranged everything for me to come up, and I got here, and it was more of a family environment, and to this day it still is. The faculty here in the music department, everyone's like family. You could easily approach any of the faculty members here and the staff. The students are like family. We all share ideas with each other, and it was certain things that I saw here, which really, it pulled me in was with the resources that were available. Like where I did my undergrad at Texas Southern University in Houston, we didn't formally have a true music library per se, and here they had that resource here, and I was like, that's amazing. This hall here is just amazing. It's like, man, I wouldn't mind performing in this place one day. This is amazing, and to have that resource, is amazing, because in the real world, and as a performer, there becomes a point in a time where you're gonna get in atmospheres like this. You're gonna perform in halls like this eventually. It depends on where your career is gonna actually go. So this is a great place to enhance that practice that's already inside of me. Especially coming from a background where I came here and I had already had a music career.
Right. So I guess talking about your music career. Like, so how do you balance that life as a musician and as a grad student as well?
Well, as of right now, the bulk of my music career is on hold because my education at this point is very important to me. I'm the first male in my family to graduate college, period. So I'm setting the bar high. I'm going to repeat that again. I'm setting it extremely high. So to put it on hold, to put my music career on hold, is very touching because because of social media, I can go on Facebook or Instagram and I'm seeing a lot of my friends is performing everywhere. Versus I know the feeling of kind of what they're going through on a daily basis, with the traveling, being away from home. So I can imagine that. Even though I'm actually away from home too, but that's part of the reason why I came here to WSU because the feeling of home is here. This is like home to me now. So, and due to the fact of me putting my music career on hold, I mean, this enhances it because the resources that are here at WSU, I'm able to learn more that the average musician would not know at this point. So when I'm complete here with my time here at WSU, I would know a lot more. I'll be basically that walking resource. Yes.
So as your life as a musician, have you traveled abroad? Have you traveled around the world?
Yes, I've traveled to West Africa. I've traveled to Central America, Mexico, and Europe as well. So.
And how was that experience there?
It was heartwarming, especially Central America and West Africa. There were a lot of similarities. There were a lot of things that I wasn't able to get out of a book or was taught in school about those regions geographically. About the people there, culture, the language. So yeah, and therefore going into those geographical regions, I had to either take crash courses on those languages, not to the point where they were fluency, but a form of fluency, and it was just amazing overall.
How about your relationship with mentors here at WSU?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like I said at the beginning here, I can go and talk to literally any faculty member here, and they're going to guide me in a direction because they're a formality of walking resources. And I look at it in a formality. If they're here and they have a doctor before their name, they're here for a reason. So and you have to utilize that. Just like you utilize a computer or Google, they're here for a reason. But they're physically in front of you instead of you having to go and do it in front of a device and Google something.
Right.
They're right here in front of you.
So, as a musician, are there grants that you can apply to? Like, is there any type of funding for you guys?
Well, yeah. Like right now, we just did a project in my graduate 560 course on the Fulbright grant, where it allows you to go and create a curriculum, whether it's in the field of maybe trombone pedagogy, teaching, piano, voice, conducting, where you can get a scholarship or grants to go teach in a specific region of the world of your choice. So, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you plan to do after?
Yes, I've been getting that question a lot lately. A lot. And I'm glad that people ask me that question. Like I say, I had a music career before I got here, and that is a very great form of entrepreneurship as well. And while I was doing my undergrad, I had a professor by the name of Matthew Knowles, which is the father of Beyonce and Solange Knowles. And he made a statement to me, and this is my senior year of my undergrad, so I'm getting ready to graduate. And he had seen me perform all over the city of Houston at this point, and he's like, "So you want to be a trombone performer or a musical performer?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "So what are you doing in my classroom?" And I was like, "What?" Yeah. He's like, "If you want to do that, you should be in a practice room instead of in my classroom." And at the time, I didn't understand that. And he's like, it's only a slim chance that you'll become this high-profile musician that you possibly dreamed of, or if you're dreaming to be a celebrity trombonist or a celebrity celebrity songwriter, there's a 1.1% chance that this can possibly happen due to the fact of your time that it puts, the time that you have to put into it as far as practice. And I was just like, okay, that makes sense. But why would you tell me this now? I'm getting ready to graduate college, and it took me quite a while to do this. This was a lot more than what I bargained for going into. I'm happy and I'm excited, but now I'm hearing this and I'm at the end of the road. And he was like, well, you can either take it and do something else positive with it to enlighten other people, or just cherish the moment and then continue to practice, And so at this point, what I mainly choose to do now that I'm at the edge of finishing my thesis project here, my 702 project here at Washington State University, I plan to continue a record label that I started in 2010. At the time, I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know any record label terminology or business terminology in that field. And after working with Mr. Matthew Knowles at Texas Southern University, I was able to learn those terminologies and how the numbers work with album sales and digital sales and things like that. So he introduced me to a whole new world inside of music that I wasn't too much aware of, which was the form of entrepreneurship in this business. And so when I'm finished here, that's what I plan to do. I really don't want to work for anyone else. I mean, this is all I've ever done. So at this point, that's what I want to do. And it brings joy to my heart to be able to hire other artists, musicians, singers, maybe even rappers, classical string, woodwind players, and hire them under some form of a contract as an artist. So, yeah. So I mean that brings joy to my heart. So as of right now, the name of my company is called Legacy Music Company. We're based out of Houston, Texas, and my brother is also the other CEO of the company as well. And he's my first artist that we're pushing as well. So, as of right now, I'm building up more and more artists that I'm working with. I have 4 other artists that I'm pulling in slowly, and it's not just rap. One artist is he's a Latin salsa artist. Actually, he is an employee of the university actually, and we ran into each other by accident. He came to one of the concerts here and was sitting in, and we just stopped and talked. So, and he's amazing. I've worked with a lot of Latin and salsa and merengue players in Houston, and his product that he already has is amazing. And and to be able to market it, and so he can make a living, it's perfect. So yeah.
So, what advice, I guess, would you give to students that maybe want to play music, or students that are trying to go into grad school? Like, what would be your piece of advice to them?
My piece of advice would be for them to stay very, very focused. And if they have their mind and their goals set on where it is that they want to go specifically, to stay focused. I mean, it's very easy to lose track. It's like, especially in the field of music, I've noticed that over the years and going back in undergrad, I used to be like, man, well, all these other, degree decorums and degree plans, these people, other majors, they get to watch TV, they get to go to concerts, they get to do this. Well, in the field of music and art, that's not really an option. And at the same token, it is an option. At the same token, it is an option. And meaning that is, when you get into the research and you start researching older classical composers like Mozart, Beethoven, when you think about it, there was no TV available. So the best advice I can tell you is to stay away from the TV. I know Netflix is awesome, but you have to stay away from it, and to stay focused.
Okay. Well, this has been a pleasure for me to sit with a musician. This is something I've never done before, and the fact that you're playing music, you're playing jazz, I would say some pretty famous people, and you're still level-headed. This has been really great, and I really wish you the best.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Right?